Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Studio 70. I'm Shirak.
And I'm Ezu. And today we have a great show with Chipmunk Debunk,
Debunk.
another Morphew case. And what we're going to talk about is basically what's going on with Barry and all his chipmunk talk about when he went after the chipmunks, when he didn't go after chipmunks, what did the investigators kind of write down, what they thought. And we're going to debunk this kind of one way or the other, depending on what side of the fence you're on. But before we get into all that,
Yes, do not forget to this is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and always be kind to others.
yes, thank you so much. And then, especially in the comments or in everywhere.
And remember, just do your own research.
Yeah, absolutely. This one was tough because let's start talking about this. Shirak, this one's a little tough because there's a lot of information in the court documents, and they interviewed Barry multiple times, and the story changes. And then I think they were so anxious, the investigators, to find some kind of tie to this thing or some kind of definitive gotcha that I think they assume things as well. So what we're going to present to you at the end is kind of like how this thing gets kind of debunked one way or the other, whether if you're like, well, was he really chasing the chipmunks, or if he was, at what time. It gets a little complicated, but bear with us. We're going to kind of dive into this right away.
This is a really good one.
We got a lot to cover. All right. So first, just let you know, we have a crime board that we do in our show that's very specific. This one, we're not getting into any of these necessary specific aspects of the case, but based on community vote, which is our, if you're subscribing, or even if you're not, if you want to get involved on our community board, we have polls, and we ask you guys, based on the episodes that we do, what do you think happened? And basically the feedback we got so far is that you think the murder happened on May 9th
instead of May 10th.
You don't think that she ever went on a bike ride, meaning Suzanne. And based the latest one on community vote, you feel that Barry is really the main suspect here. So that's what we built so far. Today, we're not getting into necessarily these specific aspects. We're just talking about specifically that chipmunk case, or that time frame. So what we're looking at is on May 9th, basically between 2 and like 5 o'clock. We're narrowing it down, getting deep dive in that specific area of time. So this ought to be good.
Yes.
So let's start off with, and you can see I have a little format for this. Up on top, you can see the date, then going across the time here, and then where this is all located, which is the Morphew residence. Now, I say Morphew residence because really what we're focusing on is that particular area. Notice that right on this slide, Barry's actually 18 minutes away from home. It still says Morphew residence, is because I'm not really necessarily tracking in this particular video exactly the point to points is not relevant at this point in time. I'm just trying to get to where the main action is, which is the Morphew house. So in this one on 155, according to the forensic data in the truck, his parking lots came on. This was the location it came on. So at 155, he's in this location 18 minutes away. So we're going to travel through time, basically go, little as we go along here. So at 2:11 p.m., Suzanne sends her last communication that we know of. Sends her last message by Lincoln to Jeff. That was her, the person that she was having an affair with. And again, let me stop here. If you guys don't know a lot about the case, you can go back to our first video that we made, or there's a lot of content on the internet and YouTube about the full case if you want to know more details about the overall story. Our channel is more focused on getting into deep diving and getting into more specific analysis. So I apologize if you don't know all the information. You may want to go back and take a look at some of those videos. But basically, phone records show this is her last communication. And she sent this photo to Jeff, LinkedIn at 2:03, so just a little bit before. But 2:11 was the last communication sent. Okay, now we're moving again in time. 2:41 to 2:43 p.m. You can see that Barry, it's hard to see here, but look at 2:41 in yellow, then 2:42 down below, then 2:43. Basically, Shirak, he's going on Route 50, coming back from being east to west, going down Route 50, then going on 225 there, basically to his house. And this, when you see the screenshot of the data, that's all from the vehicle forensics information that's in the court documentation. And if you see that the times are a little different, this is all recorded on UTC time. So they have to adjust it for that specific time zone. So that's why you see that 2:41. It's 6 hours behind UTC. Okay. So it's UTC -6 if you want to say
And
it
it
that
seemed
way.
like this is all so close, like everything is taking 1 minute to get to.
Yeah, because he's just driving back home. It's just probably, I forgot the exact mileage. It's maybe like 1 mile or something like that. It's not that far because he's getting off the exit and heading home. Or I think it's the exit. It's like a turnoff. If we get to go to Colorado, we're going to do the same thing. So we'll see.
We're going to time it too.
Yeah, we're going to time it. Yeah, well, I don't want to show up in his house because he's a hunter. I don't want to be hunted. 2:43. So just a minute later, the driver door was opened. The closed door event was not captured, but it seems to occur often in the data. So I'm not sure why. I just want to state this. So when I was looking through data, usually and logically, you would think you open the door, you close the door, and those events get captured in the data, in the vehicle data. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if the door is literally left open. Maybe it opens and closes so fast that the system doesn't catch the close event. I have no clue. But I figured to be proper, I wanted to just at least state that. So 2:43, the door at least gets open. So we know he's at that location. And I verified this because what, Shrock? The other day I was going through this. It's taking me forever. I manually typed in all the GPS coordinates and, just verified everything and got the information. So on the affidavit or the court documentation, they put this in. This is the infamous slide that they show about how he zigzagged everywhere real fast. And he was saying he was, allegedly chasing chipmunks.
This is pretty neat. This was coming up.
Yeah, this comment was pretty cool. So this is the court document. It's a little hard to read because it's in military time and you see 1, 2, 3, but it's a little confusing. So I'm gonna simplify. I love doing this. I love taking the data and breaking it down to information. So at 2:44, between 2 seconds to 5 seconds, meaning 2:44:02. Now we're getting to the seconds category to 05 to 3 seconds. He this happens. He moves. Here's his first movement. Okay. And then a few seconds he's there. You can see up on top where the time clock is up above the seconds here. And then this is his second movement. So it's almost like he runs, through the house to the other side. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'd run around the house. And through the court documents, they really analyze it to like how many steps you can run per second and all this stuff. But basically probably cut through the house. Mm-hmm. And then number 3 right here, okay, is where he zigzags across, almost like goes through the garage to the other side. Now, this is all supposedly he's chasing chipmunks. But again, that even gets kind of mucky. And we'll get into that, what he says to the interviews. So this is what it looks like. This is matching the court documentation with just a different view, a different way of presenting you the information. Okay, and I did that based on the time clock, not the military time. So there's one more that I saw there, so let's keep going.
Keep going.
So there's one more. I know they just didn't put in the document. So basically, a couple of minutes later, from 2:45 to 2:47, he goes across from that location, makes his way to the other side of the house. So I just threw that in there because it was on the court documents. It was in the data, but they just didn't show it. I don't know why. Maybe they just really was focusing on the really fast movement. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's keep going. So at 2:45, which is right around that time, and what's interesting, this came from the vehicle forensics information, and I stared at this 1,000 times because I'm like, does this make sense? So if he's chasing chipmunks, and we'll get this later, 2:45. So he gets there 2:43. He's running around the house at 2:44, supposedly chasing chipmunks. I'll get into the whole gun and all that other stuff. But 2:45, he's making 2 outgoing phone calls. Yeah. And I looked at this. I mean, we'll get into this later. I'm jumping around, but I want to break it down a little bit as we go along. Like, look at the data. I stared at this thing for a long time. It's 8:45 p.m. Now you have to back it up 6 hours. Mm-hmm. That's 2:45. And I was rubbing my eyes and, is this data correct? Because this is really weird. But again, I haven't seen anybody, I've watched many shows. We've watched many shows on this. Yes. And I haven't seen anybody do this timeline by taking all the data and kind of building those couple hours out like this. So
the only one that's trying to,
I haven't seen it. I've seen the overall timeline, but not not like this, because I'd really like to have somebody, you guys in the community, and share it with other people or other shows and see what they think.
Exactly.
I like to get this information
We would love some
double
feedback.
checked and looked at, because this is really getting to the nitty gritty between these couple hours. So then, just to let you know, 2:46, Jeff sends Suzanne a message. Hey, your weather looks great. May have been in reference to the picture she sent earlier, because remember, she sent that picture like at 2:03, and then she sent a text message at 2:11. That was the last communication. So this is one that she never answered it. And if you realize at 2:46, that's roughly the same time, Barry got home and was running around. And, if you feel that Barry's not, guilty of this crime, maybe she saw him running around. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And just got distracted. Or if you believe that he is guilty, then you might think that she was being chased at that time.
She's being chased, or you're not sure.
Not sure. And then just finishing up with the data related to his movement based on that cell phone data, 2:47 p.m. He just moved over to that area. I'm just trying to follow the timeline based on all the data that we have. And hopefully I didn't miss any key stuff. I went through it a lot. So now this is where it gets interesting. So hold on. So thanks for hanging in there. Just kind of go through that. But I think it's important to set the basis. Now, 2:47, his phone goes in airplane mode, and I'll get into that in a second. Okay. So the investigator referenced Barry's phone.
Allegedly went into airplane mode.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Yep.
So the investigator referenced Barry's phone of airplane mode being at 2:47 p.m. and off at 10:17 p.m. later that night, Saturday. On May 9th, 2:47, Barry's phone appears, and I highlighted it appears, to enter airplane mode. I said, appears. What the hell does that mean? At first when I did the episode earlier, I just took it for granted, but as I deeper, I'm like, huh? So the investigator said Barry's phone went into airplane mode. He asked Barry if he placed the phone in airplane mode, and Barry may have been placing his phone in airplane mode to keep from being tracked. And then Barry said, no, I don't recall turning my phone on airplane mode. I do not recall that. So the whole thing of appears, and then him seeming like he wanted to ask Barry out, did you put your phone in airplane mode? Well, if you already knew that, why you're asking? But he made nobody know that for sure, and just trying to get Barry to commit to that. It just seems a little odd, and I'll explain why. So I just took it for granted it was in airplane mode. However, when I stare at this data, and I want you folks, again, share this, look at it yourself, let me know. But the vehicle forensics says that at 2:47, 2:48, he was making outgoing calls. You could see UTC, again, you have to minus 6 hours, 8:47, 8:48. He's making calls, but his phone's airplane mode. What the heck? Let's just keep going.
And he's calling Susan Morphew at 48.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Now, keep that in mind. This is great. You're catching on good. I mean, I showed you a preview of this. We go through this, but sometimes I like to surprise, because you guys might say, don't you guys collaborate on presentations? But sometimes I do this purposely, because I want a genuine, if she looks at it when I do, we're going to be in sync. Sometimes it's nice for Chirac to say, okay, I know a little bit, but I don't know all of it. So I can have a fresh look, just like anybody else. Exactly. And that can confirm things. I don't want her to have, prejudice beforehand of what's going on here. So those are, good catch. You see how I highlighted it? Why is he calling her if he's already home with her? Okay, so just keep that in mind. So then, 2:52, like you said, who is he calling again? Suzanne Morphew, but is he home? Okay. And why is it picking up if it's in airplane mode? Okay, now lastly, at 3:18, 3:25, 3:27, look who he calls again. Outgoing. Again, I don't have the information how long these phone calls were. This is all. Remember, I'm limited to what I can get, through the court case, what they provided. Unfortunately, I don't have all. Right. Even the vehicle data, that drove me nuts. A little sidebar here really quickly. Even the vehicle data, right? Like, I was hoping that, I would have all 600, I think it's 300 or 600 pages of data. they only give like 20 or 30 pages. I'm like, ugh, I wish I had all the data because I'd be able to,
Exactly.
do a
The
bigger
release
picture.
is just a certain percentage
Yeah.
amount.
So I'm going to see if I can get all the information. So again, which is it? Was Barry's phone on airplane mode or not? Because the vehicle forensics show calls were made during this time. So we did a quick little look up on the internet. We're not experts in the cell phone business, but it sounds like if you're on Wi-Fi, the key to making and receiving calls while in airplane mode lies in the feature called Wi-Fi calling. Allows your smartphone to route calls over the Wi-Fi network instead of relying on cellular network.
Yes.
And maybe those calls were logged into the phone, and then maybe when he reconnected at a later time, that data got synced up. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how these functions work. This is allegedly. I'm just trying to make sense of how those two statements could be true. Airplane mode, but yet calls were made. And again, maybe the data is wrong. I mean, not our data, but maybe the way it was recorded was wrong or something. It's always a possibilities. But I want to at least, share that. And lastly, at 4:44, the parking lights go off and on on his vehicle. So I'm just stating that. So this is getting close to 5 o'clock. So I think we can start getting into the contradictions here. So chipmunk contradictions. While Barry returned to his residence, Suzanne did not respond to Jeff Lieber's, I hope I said his name right, return messages at 2:44. Same time, Barry admitted to running around their property with a gun and placing his phone in airplane mode. Now, this is the investigator stating this, okay? So I'll explain why I'm surprised that they said Barry admitted to, because
he said that.
He said a lot of contradicting things. Like he said, Barry is going, the investigator said Barry was going to the porches around 2:44 between 2:47. And Barry said, like agreeing with him, just saying, yeah, it sounds about right. I'm going through the porches. But if you look at another part of a conversation, the investigator said Barry's phone activity, the chipmunks would have occurred after the crib trip, which was down the road, which he went back, to the house from that area I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Barry stated, okay, then the chipmunks, she was laying out. I was looking. I probably went to sit with her for a while. She was laying out, seen a chipmunk, and got my gun and shot the chipmunk. Okay, well, that's not admitting that you ran around the property at a time when you put your phone in airplane mode at 2:47. Now you're saying you probably sat out there with her, noticed the chipmunks, and went to got your gun. Now that sounds more logical.
Yes.
Than getting home, and I don't want to. I want to save this for a little bit. I don't want to. I get excited. I want to jump in there, but think about this. They're saying he admitted to running around the property at a time, but then in this case, he's saying, "Oh, well, I'm not sure. I probably sat down with her for a while, saw the chipmunks, then went to go get my gun," which sounds more logical than when you got home, you just run out with a gun and start running around the yard. I'll get that more in a second. Barry looked. Oh God, I can't talk. Barry to work forward from the chipmunk, and Barry said, "I don't truly recall." So they're trying to get him from that chipmunk to kind of build the story, build a timeline. And he just said, "I can't remember." That's all what that last statement is. They were trying to, build upon when he was doing the chipmunk thing. But he was kind of vague going back and forth. But to say that he admitted to this, I think they were so anxious to build a story, they went with it. And I'm not sure 100% that was the way to go.
Exactly.
Accurate. So if you made it this far, and we appreciate you guys so much, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we got some great news. Yes. And that is we have memberships now set up because we get more support because we have a lot of things we want to do outside the studio, take the studio remote and do some other fun things. So if you want to join our channel, we have 2 levels right now. One's just a team member where you can get emojis for chats and comments and things like that. We're going to do live chats very soon in the next 1 month or so. And you'll get early access to the episodes, and you'll get member-only status and updates of what we're doing. And then at the team lead, you get all that good stuff. But in addition to that, you get member shout-outs, which we will do either verbally or visually on every episode. And then also, too, we will have exclusive member-only videos. So we'll do like extensions to these episodes, or we might have conversations or additional episodes that only members can get. So you get a lot more content for the team leads.
The team leads.
So with that little short commercial, we're going to go into some of the other things to continue on with this, the good stuff here. So the investigator said, right, and asked if the chipmunk gun was in his car or truck with him. And he said he did not remember. So let me take a step back. He arrives home. Mm-hmm. The only way he could run around right away to get chipmunks unless he had the gun in the car, or something very like he grabbed it on the way running in the house or something. It had to be really readily available. And then
set up to.
Oh yeah, like you're right. Like loaded is what you mean. Right, exactly. And then the investigator noted that the evidence appeared that Gary made it from the garage to the porch in 7 seconds. Barry did not remember where the gun was. This is all weird. Come on, you remember that.
And I know in some states too, like with the gun, you're supposed to have that locked up, but I guess that's when you have kids and stuff. But sometimes they have those where.
Yeah, and some people don't care. They do their own thing. He's out in the boonies there somewhere, so he's a hunter. They don't always do that because you might see elk or you might see something. You want something quickly available. And then Barry said, I don't recall. Could have been in the truck. I might have been. I don't recall. Mm-hmm. So again, evading it because, whatever you think of Barry, whether he's guilty or innocent, he is good at like going back and forth and creating the doubt because he knows it's almost like a chess move. He knows he says one or the other. He's pitching himself into one particular spot. And then he gets in. But if he says, I don't know.
And he leaves room.
Yeah, it leaves a lot of room. So him not recalling if it was in the truck or not, then. But logic. Okay, let me get to the next slide. Because it's driving me nuts. Okay, so let's do the conclusion here. 2:43, Barry gets home via vehicle forensics. 2:44, Barry moves faster around the house. Okay, so if he's chasing the chipmunks, how did Gary, in less than 1 minute, see the chipmunks and grab the gun? That doesn't seem logical, okay? And the evidence with the data I showed, meaning at 2:43, get home, 2:44, you start running around the house. How would you even have time to think? Never mind. Oh, I'm going to go home and run around, not even say hi to your wife and just run around. And it's supposedly, if you do or don't know she's sunbathing, why are you going to go out there with a gun while letting her know that you're just showing up? When you say, hi, honey, I'm home, it just doesn't. Shrock, I want to get your input after I go through this because I want to see what you think. And then if he did go out and sit with her before seeing the chipmunks, remember, because he did say that could be a possibility. He doesn't remember. How is it that he's calling her at 2:45, 2:48, and 2:52 per vehicle forensics? Like this is weird. Again, data could be off, but that's weird. And why was he running around the house when he got home? Like, why would you immediately run around? It just doesn't make sense. Now, the people who would allegedly think he's guilty would say he was really ticked off. He was upset. So when he got home, he just opened the door. He didn't even think. And he went after her and then started calling just to cover his butt. Who knows? And then at 2:47 p.m., Barry's phone on airplane mode, as we talked about. Is this really the case when we see calls made between 2:47 and 3:27 per vehicle forensics? And we showed that Wi-Fi calling is possible that could be done, still make calls, but we're not sure.
That's definitely happened because, when we were on vacation, my phone.
Yeah, that happened recently.
Just happened to me. The phone was ringing. And I was like, how is that possible? I didn't even have service out there.
And it'd be really interesting.
I had the internet connected to the hotel room.
And it would be really interesting, which we don't know, is if you got into your car, if your car connects, if your phone connects to your car, I wonder if you went into the car data, will it sync up those calls?
Yeah.
That I don't know, because that would explain why there's vehicle forensic data. Mm-hmm. But what's wrong here, though? Is it the investigators, meaning did they go to the wrong conclusions because they were so anxious to put two and two together that they went overboard and just took pieces of what he said and created a narrative that wasn't really accurate before diving in more detail? Is the data wrong? Even though I showed that there's data where there's calls being made where his phone is in airplane mode, it doesn't make sense if he's running around and then making those calls. Is that data accurate, meaning the vehicle forensics data? Is the timestamps on those accurate?
And I have a question because you do data all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, do you have something where you consider data is wrong? Like it's inaccurate data or?
Yeah. Yeah, the data could be wrong for many reasons. Maybe the timestamp or the time function in the truck
Okay.
could be off. Remember, there was mucking around with the truck. Again, allegedly, he was mucking around with it. I don't know if there's necessary way, but maybe there's a way you can alter the timestamp of the truck. Again, these are examples. I'm not saying this is true or not.
Right,
Please,
but
this is
you
just
definitely
for.
have that.
But you
Data
can
can be
muck
incorrect.
around
Okay.
with certain settings or certain attributes around capturing data. So when the data is captured, it's captured on an incorrect basis.
Okay.
Or if data is moving from one integration to another, one from A to B, there's always a possibility data could get corrupt, manipulated,
Lost.
So yes, data could get,
Okay.
manipulated or incorrectly captured or something.
Okay.
Or is the analysis wrong? Whether it be my analysis or the analysis that's done by the investigators. But so
What do you think out there?
so what? Yeah, what do you guys think out there? I mean, I want to get your thoughts and opinions on this. I haven't seen people walk through this, because the reason why I say that is because I'm looking for somebody else to really do similar we did, take all the pieces that those different areas for those hours and put together and explain some of these things. So I'm just kind of throwing this out there to the community, meaning everybody, and say, can somebody else take what I've taken, take it even a step further, or let's have a conversation and try to work out some more details.
Add it in our comments. We'll definitely read it.
Because as of right now, Barry is still, he hasn't been charged with anything. And we're not necessarily saying he's guilty or not. So allegedly he's involved. The community, you guys think he's suspect number one. I tend to agree. I don't really foresee, we went through the suspects on another episode. I really don't see anybody else being really up there. So, looking at this data, I don't know if I'm not to be critical because it's a very hard job, but I think they need to do more digging and put more pieces together.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I know sometimes they have a time frame and they have a lot of other cases as well. So, especially the resources. Sometimes when you go to these places, different states, and they have certain resources.
Yeah. And with that, we want to say thank you guys, and speaking of resources and all this stuff, we're hoping we're still going to get to our 1,000 subscribers. And then we want to book either August or September. Let's see, hopefully by June or sooner, we can get our numbers. We want to get the support we can get down to.
That'd be nice.
Because we know there'll be enough interest in the community. We'll go down to Colorado and, I want to get on that Route 226. Strzok is sick of me hearing this. But we did another episode where my theory was that, again, it was just a theory. It's not factual, but just based on the information, seemed most likely that Barry or whoever, instead of taking Route 50 to drop off all the information, all the bicycle and the bike helmet, that's possible 226 was taken, especially with the bike. It seemed like they popped out of road 226 and then threw the helmet out. But anyhow, I want to go on 226, and we got to find that phone.
Yes,
that's my dream, is to find this phone. Maybe it'd have more information. It's probably long gone, but if we do get a chance to go to Colorado, I got to at least take the chance to go out there and take a look. But anything else, Strzok? Because I know I did a lot of talking.
Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And, please keep on with the comments and anything more you want to know on this Morphew case. We'll probably start some other cases and dive deeper into the data and the analysis.
Yes.
So until next time.
Studio 70.
Thank you.